It's been exactly a year since I uploaded my first video, and a lot has happened in 2022. So today I just wanted to sit down in the same spot that I sat down a year ago to film my first video and just talk about my 2022 in review, in numbers, 2022 wrap. I wanted to kind of talk about the places I've traveled to, the people I've met, the experiences I've had, the books I've read, and if that interests you, you can click on the timestamps below. So travel in numbers, I went to 3 different countries and 10 different cities. So the 3 countries that I went to were the US, the UAE, and India. I went to the US for a Kashmiri conference. So for those that don't know, I'm Kashmiri. I essentially went to the US, specifically upstate New York, to attend a 3 or 4 day conference. So it's called KGNA, and I actually went to the last one that happened in 2018 that was held in LA. And 4 years later, I actually reunited with people that I hadn't seen in so long. You know, what I kind of want to talk about in like this sort of travel segment is, yeah, it's cool to like list out all the cities that I've been to and whatever, but I think more importantly, I just want to kind of think about what I got away from it. And there were 2 main things that I got away from all these travels and the first one was definitely just friendships. I both like reconnected and just like grew new friendships purely just by kind of city hopping. The conference in particular, I actually went by myself. So the last one I went with my parents, but this time I was really keen on going and no one else could kind of make it. But yeah, I was kind of nervous. Like I was just going there with like only knowing maybe a few people that were at the last conference that might have been at this one as well, but like I didn't really confirm it with anyone, so it could have gone like horribly wrong. I had a layover in Chicago, which was like actually my favorite city, but after this trip I feel like it was actually my first time visiting Chicago in the summer, and it is probably the cleanest, and what I've heard is that it's from people is that it's almost like a discount New York. It's definitely just super clean, especially downtown, and yeah, the summer is beautiful. The last time I went was actually in the winter, and that was around like 5 years ago. So yeah, the US was pretty fun. It was very short. It was like probably 10 days or like 2 weeks. I visited Sacramento, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, or rather like Niagara Falls and Buffalo, so upstate New York, and so not New York City. I still need to go there, and Boston. So that was honestly like a lot of the cities that I went to this year. The other 4 cities or 4 or 5 cities were Dubai, Abu Dhabi, both in the UAE, and then I started off the year in Gold Coast, Brisbane, and then went to Melbourne a couple of times as well, most recently for the Pakistan and England grand final, which was pretty fun. I mean, I have to say India because it is the country, but the actual kind of city or state that I went to was Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir. Yeah, I went to Kashmir for the first time in like 6 years, so I met all my cousins after so long. They've also all grown up, and yeah, this trip was very, very different in the sense that I did go for like a few weddings. Okay, so now on to the books that I read. So in numbers, I read a total of 13 books this year. It was only half the number that I read last year, but I think the key difference that I adopted or applied this year was that I just wanted to sort of pause after reading each book and actually sort of summarizing and like writing down what I actually learned from it. I did a bit of this with like some of the books that I read last year, but it was more so just like taking notes as I read it and not necessarily kind of looking back and trying to remember sort of like the 5, 7 or like 9 things that I've actually learned. So I'm not as disappointed in terms of the number of books. I definitely made up for it in sort of the second half of the year, whereas like in the first half, I think I put out a tweet where I said it took me 6 months to sort of mark my first book read on Goodreads, and that too, it was on Audible. So speaking of Audible, out of the 13 books that I actually read, that I'm saying that I read, I only physically read probably 3 books, and the other 10 were via Audible. And yeah, I definitely made the most of Audible by, I guess, this concept of like batching. I don't know if it's batching or like there's another term for it, but I basically found that whenever I went to the gym, I would put on Audible and I would just blitz through a lot of books, and I definitely took a lot away from that. Just to keep it simple, my 3 favorite books from 2022 were Mindset by Carol Dweck. I think there were just so many cool examples of that kind of help you work through whether you think you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset in different sort of scenarios or like case studies. And the second one was probably Secrets of Divine Love by A. Helwa. It really just drills you down to like the basics of Islam. And probably in 5 years, it was actually the only fictional book that I read, and it was, yeah, like, again, kind of attached to this mindset concept of being fixed as to like, oh, I want to be here in 5 years, or I envision this in my life in 5 years. I think it was just a really nice and easy listen, and then sort of like a break from a lot of the heavy non-fiction things that I read. Yeah, those are kind of the 3 books off the top of my head that I really enjoyed in 2022. Now, just quickly in terms of like work, I worked on 2 different projects this year. But I think what I kind of really enjoyed this year, and especially towards the end of the year where I picked up this like perspective or point of view article, was that a lot of the things which I'll go into in a minute about like what I enjoy, I was actually able to sort of combine or add to like my day job. For those that don't know, I am a management consultant for like a large tech consulting firm. I probably won't like name drop the firm, but to be honest, you can just like stalk me on LinkedIn and it's all there. Social media, probably my favorite topic to talk about. Yeah, I'll just quickly run through basically like a year in numbers. Firstly, let's just start with YouTube. I kind of dropped off at a point where I just kind of needed to focus on work for a bit, and then I kind of discovered some other platforms. And yeah, as I sort of tried out the different platforms, whether that was writing, whether that was like short form, long form, I just sort of like swung towards whatever I felt like I guess whatever I was starting to enjoy, or wherever I felt the least amount of friction. I filmed a few videos, and there was actually the last video that I ended up archiving was I noticed just like a sound that was like not sounding right. And this is actually my 3rd microphone, because the second one I think I misplaced. So it's the same Rode Micro, actually it's one of these, I have a spare one here. And yeah, I mean, whenever I started this thing, I always knew that sound was more important than video quality. But you might also notice that the video quality is a bit different now. So this is not my iPhone 12, which is what I filmed my last few videos on. It's actually my DSLR camera, which this is really embarrassing, but I didn't actually know that this could record videos as well. So I've been using it for like photos for like the longest time, and then I just discovered like this red button which kind of presses record. And yeah, so this is kind of why I say I'm not really into photography, because I could not tell you how to use my camera besides like the auto function and yeah, how to press record. On YouTube, I actually only have 4 videos uploaded, and what's kind of interesting is that the video that kind of did the best was, interestingly enough, like a dance video. So we danced at a friend's wedding a few months ago, and that was the one that gained probably like the most number of subscribers, although there really aren't that many subscribers currently. Now, so that's long form. Now, in terms of short form, I really started to enjoy TikTok. So TikTok in numbers, I actually posted 100 videos. I've almost reached my goal of 10,000 likes, which, to be honest, for some people, it like literally takes one video to gain that much. But yeah, for some reason, it's just not popping up for me. Actually, like looking into like the company, and I started to understand like their mission or like their purpose, and it's something along the lines of creating joy and inspiring creativity. And I think that's just like quite meaningful to me. I definitely get a lot of joy out of both like consuming content and also like creating it. But also, yeah, it's definitely like a, right brain type of thinking. And there was actually one DM that I got on TikTok, which was, well, actually it wasn't on TikTok, it was on Instagram about my TikTok videos. But this is probably like the DM that will push me or motivate me despite kind of like my numbers or my stats flopping, just to keep going. Because yeah, I am so big on this, and everyone will tell you this, but it literally just takes one video for you to pop off or like to grow your socials. And yeah, I'll just quickly read it to you. It said, Salam Azam, your TikTok content has helped me so much. Some of the Islamic reminders and just your videos in general are really pleasant overall. Good vibes all around. On top of that, you have this super calming aura to you. I mean, I don't know you in person, but your presence virtually is always really calming. That was like the nice. I literally replied to them saying this was like the nicest message I have ever gotten. But I realized after like 11 months, or literally a few weeks ago, I realized I turned off my comments on TikTok, so no one, unless I was following you back, so I think I have like 50 friends or something, or 50 or 60 friends on TikTok that like we follow each other back, but unless you're one of those 50 or 60 people, my comments were actually turned off. So this was just such a blunder, because I like a big part of kind of viral videos, or like, you know, gaining an audience or reach, is definitely like the comment section. I feel like people don't even, like, it's all about, like, obviously views is number one, and then I would say comments and then likes. That is like a bit of an ego stroke, but it is, yeah, something that I'm super grateful for. And people that ask me, oh, like, do you post, like, would you rather start a TikTok channel or a YouTube channel in 2023? I mean, a lot of people would probably say, oh, like, YouTube's dying, short form is the new wave, and whatever. But if you basically speak to anyone that's like after Gen Z, which I think is Gen Alpha, if I'm not wrong, they are just glued to YouTube. So I was the one that grew up on like normal television, Disney Channel, the whole lot. And even now, to be honest, like, if I'll just want to watch something, I will try to surf Netflix and I will find absolutely nothing of interest, and I'll always just turn back to YouTube. And then even on YouTube, like, rather than just seeing like what falls on my like homepage, I'll typically just go to like 2 or 3 of my favorite channels and just kind of end up like, I would have never thought I would end up doing this, but I would just, yeah, literally watch like a vlog of them, or like a Q&A, or just like my favorite kind of influencers. And it just makes me think that, yeah, like the potential for like literally influencers, and I promise you, I'm going to say this right now, that I will do a dedicated video on my takeaways on the book Inside Story, or the Inside Story of Instagram, how it changed like how it changed celebrity, business, and culture. I don't even have cable, I think, plugged into my TV. Like, all I have is on my PlayStation. I'll toggle between Netflix and YouTube. The really cool quote that I took away from that book, Make Time, which is like a productivity book, was literally anyone can be discovered on YouTube. I still think, like, if you're consistent and you have decent lighting and a good camera, literally anyone can start a YouTube channel. And just like, if people literally like your accent from like other parts of the world, you're probably gonna, like, I remember being in the US and someone telling me, like, dude, all you have to do is like have a video that hits like the US like For You page, and with your Australian accent, like, you'll go viral, or like you just have to talk. And I found that kind of funny, because it's partially true as well. Like, I think, now that I think of it, a lot of like the YouTubers that I follow are basically based in London or New York, and yeah, if they had like an Aussie accent, I might have not like enjoyed it. In terms of Instagram, now I actually set up like 3 new Instagram accounts, and again, after reading the book, the Inside Story of Instagram, I kind of instantly shifted my perspective on Instagram from like a social app to a like purely business account. And yeah, the 3 pages that I started were Halal Boy Sydney, as you guys might already know. That is kind of just where I house like all my different, I think I was initially using it to like repost some of my TikToks as reels, to share like my blogs, which I'll get to in a minute, and just to share like some like travel snaps here and there, and yeah, just general things that I felt more comfortable sharing like on a story there, as like to like whatever 60 people that follow me, compared to like whatever the 700 odd people that like I haven't like really spoken to in so long. So yeah, that was kind of Instagram. That was like the first Instagram page. The second one was Archives by Azim. So this kind of leads into my photography interest, and I think I said this earlier, but I would never consider myself interested in photography, because I literally could not tell you that this camera takes videos along with photos. Yeah, the more and more I think about it, like, I definitely am into taking photos and videos. I think this year I really actually experimented, or really enjoyed getting into film photography. So I went through like 6 disposable cameras before I actually purchased my first film camera. And yeah, it looks kind of cool. I actually, again, this was something that I discovered on my trip to the US, and basically someone that I met had an Instagram page, and they just dumped their like film photos there, and then in their highlights they included like which cameras they used. And yeah, I just really like the look of it. And then the film that I actually use is called Porter 400. So with these film cameras, it actually doesn't matter too much about which camera you get. It's more about like the quality of the film photos that you get out of it. are based off like the film that you put in it, obviously. So yeah, Porta 400 is the only one that I've experimented with, and I do like enjoy the quality of it much more than just a disposable camera. So yeah, after going through like 5 or 6 disposables, I definitely felt like I reached the point, which was like probably like 6 or 7 months of doing that, to the point where like, okay, I'm clearly into this, let me actually like purchase it. And then it doesn't really save you too much money, to be honest, because it works out to be the same amount. It's just kind of like an upfront cost that you just get for the camera, or like the skeleton. And now, to be honest, I don't want to make this into a full photography like video, but the pro, I mean, if I had to look back, I mean, actually just recently I developed my like probably second or third roll of this film camera, and yeah, I like really enjoy the quality. So I would, after looking at those, I would recommend like getting a camera that has just like better quality than just the disposables. But in terms of convenience, I feel like this is like much more of a heavier camera, and like I'm a bit more like cautious of like, you know, taking care of it and not just like throwing it around or giving it to any random to take a photo. So if you just want like a casual one, like the disposable is really like light and just, you know, you're going to throw it out anyway, so it's a really quick solution. And yeah, I would definitely recommend to anyone to like get those first before you actually invest in one. The other thing is that like with a lot of these film cameras, they are very old, and hence if there's an issue with it, like for example, I had to get this repaired despite like getting it on eBay, imported from Japan. The like shutter just wasn't working, and like the flash also like I couldn't figure out how to work the flash. So yeah, like I had to pay a bit more to like repair it, and then it kind of got broken again. I thought it got broken again, but then it turns out I just had to change the batteries. But yeah, a lot of other people that I've spoken to that have film cameras, they like pretty much all of them say like my film camera broke. So that's probably the downside of getting a film camera. But anyway, I started this Archives by Arsene page to kind of just dump my photos there, because initially I was kind of like putting it on my story. And what was really funny was that when I spoke to someone, a lot of us, it's crazy, right? Like with these photos, you have to develop it, or like go to a camera, like what's called a camera house store here, and they'll develop it for you. But the real point of this was to actually get like physical photos printed, and it's only like $5 extra to do that. But to be honest, I only initially got the physical photos printed for my first 2 rolls, but then after that I just get the digital prints. And it's kind of crazy. I feel like that's how like Instagram's kind of changed everything, or like everything's now digital. Like you don't want to store like physical photos. But that is kind of like my second Instagram page. And then the third page, which I just have like in my bio for Halal Boy Sydney, and like I only have like 3 followers, but basically it's called Malik Institute. And like with anyone that's like putting out content on the internet, they often just start a business. Like they usually leverage like their audience and then start a business. And like Malik Institute, I guess, is going to be like that business. The inspiration behind Malik Institute was realizing that there really aren't that many Muslims. Okay, there are a lot of Muslims in the Western world, but there's just not too many that like fluently or really translate the lessons of the Holy Book into like plain, simple English. My favorite teacher or imam or like scholar is definitely Omar Suleiman, and he's probably the first one, after maybe Norman Ali Khan, that really just spoke to someone who's been brought up in the United States, in the UK, in Australia, any English, you know, in Canada, any English speaking country. And really, and it's crazy how like an accent makes such a difference. But yeah, just being able to like hear their like voice and just their like way of thinking, I definitely benefited from them. And these guys are like 10, maybe 15, 20 years older than me. Just want to distill like all those learnings into like really bite-sized content. I feel like every second person started like a podcast like in the last year or 2, but yeah, I feel like this isn't just going to be like me talking to my friends and having a catch up and whatever. Like I mean, I might end up doing that because that's always fun. But I think just the initial series will be definitely like a daily, hopefully daily 7-minute podcast that just kind of talks about like different parts of the Quran. And yeah, so stay tuned. I also this year sat on my first podcast right actually on the couch behind me, so that was super fun. And that was also partly like having like a group of friends who have their own podcasts, who've been doing it for like 2 years now. That's obviously like an influence, and it makes me really comfortable to like just do one as well. So the person that started that, they helped me set it up. So Instagram and numbers, I grew like 100 followers on my main account, which was I mean that was kind of cool. That was probably just more a result of like meeting heaps of people from different travels. And yeah, I did go public at one point, and that's actually quite interesting for me, or like yeah, it's just interesting because I feel like growing up everyone just had private accounts, and then I went to the US and I spoke to someone and they just said like everyone over here has like a public account. And I think that's also like with TikTok, like when you follow someone on TikTok and then you like see their linked Instagram account, it'll usually be like public, because that's like, why are you linking it then? I mean, if you ask me if I like Instagram or TikTok more, I would definitely say TikTok, but Instagram is still like never gonna go away. It's just too big of a platform. Moving on to Twitter. I really like Twitter. I never like tweeted. I think I initially signed up to Twitter back in 2016 because some lecturer said that it's a much better like news feed for like literal news. So I got it in like 2016, didn't really touch it in the last like 5 years, and then, or 5-6 years, and then came back this year, and I have posted over 250 tweets. Now a lot of these were just like threads where I've started to just, as I mentioned before, like document my summaries or like learnings from different books that I've read. So like one tweet literally might end up working out to be 10 tweets. So to be honest, I haven't tweeted like that much this year. Twitter's really fun. I haven't quite figured out, to be honest, with any of these socials, like how to truly grow. I definitely think like people do say like record and like document everything and just keep posting, and you know, something will pop off. But there's definitely like different communities and different brands and partnerships that like elevate a lot of people's platforms that I again just haven't really like looked into too much. But yeah, I'm still really grateful for like 2022 for me to kind of like suss out the different platforms. I've definitely spent a lot of time on it, but it is with like somewhat of a purpose. I don't think I've like mindlessly consumed across the different platforms. I ended up posting my blogs on Twitter and Instagram, but yeah, that leads me on to writing and blogging. So I subscribed to Medium after like privately writing on WordPress for a year. So in 2021 I used WordPress, in 2022 I used Medium, and in 2023 I'll be using Beehive. So Beehive is like one of the newest, it's only been around for like a year or so, but one of the newest newsletters. And now starting a newsletter versus starting a blog is two very different things. But the reason why I've kind of moved from writing a blog that's just on the internet on one of these platforms like Medium or WordPress to now actually having like a mailing newsletter is because like I quickly realized, and I didn't really change it because I just wanted to stick with Medium because there is a monetization aspect once you hit 100 subscribers. But again, Medium in numbers, I literally have 5 subscribers, and that's like moved plus or minus 1 over the course of the year. I've actually posted 21 blogs on Medium in the past year, and I'm pretty proud of that because that's like almost like once every 2 weeks. And although again that was half the number of posts that I did last year privately on WordPress, the big difference was that this was public, and I also traveled for like a big chunk of during that time. I wasn't really writing anything. But the bottom line is that like not many people have Medium, but everyone has an email, so it's kind of a no-brainer to start a newsletter because you'll basically write the same content, and then like when you hit publish, it will go to their mailbox. And yeah, I only subscribe to a couple blogs or newsletters, but I really enjoy reading them. And if you're basically posting content on any other platform, then having a mailbox to sort of almost announce that, like if you write one like let's say once each week and you're posting content on these different platforms, like it doesn't take too much to just like link your YouTube video, to link a Twitter thread that you've posted, to share like an Instagram photo. It's just a very clean way to like sum up your week. And what I started to do was like share my weekly recommendations, whether that was my favorite book and like some lessons that I took away from it, a podcast episode, a movie, like a song. I would pretty much just share it at the bottom, and then I would kind of write a story on whatever topic that came to mind, whether that would be social media related, a lot of it was travel related, some of it was like whatever was happening in that week in the news or in the world. So yeah, I am really a big fan of writing. And like whilst I'm not like, I don't know, like whilst I would never consider myself a writer, I just think there's so much value in putting your thoughts on paper, like putting your thoughts onto paper. And now that I've touched on this, I like quickly want to just touch on kind of the why behind, like even if I don't like pop off on socials, I just don't think any of this is like a time waste or like a sunk cost, because for two main reasons. Now I'll talk about YouTube, and I've already written about this in a blog, but basically the reason why I will hopefully like push with YouTube and push with this newsletter is because each time I'm doing it, I'm doing like two things. One, I'm speaking, and like in my day job. And yeah, the reason why I'm going to push for both of these things is because like I think it'll always apply or benefit my career, because like the two big parts of my day job are literally just writing. Like everyone writes emails, but I mean like having written communication, whether that's like doing a slide deck, like doing a proposal, basically speaking in this digital world. A lot of it is written communication, and I think the more that I can force myself to write and just synthesize my thoughts, the better I will be at my job. And then the second thing is like speaking. I look back on my first video, the number of times I said didn't really concern me too much. I remember sending it to like my sister, and then they were like, oh, you're actually saying like a lot. And then there was a voiceover that I did on TikTok, and a friend said, yeah, I noticed that you said and a lot. And yeah, I just think that goes back to, again, like not really practicing like public speaking as much as I would have liked. And this didn't really hit me until a work like meeting happened, and I just saw like in observation someone else on literally just a dial-in just say like so much, and I definitely like lost my attention by like the time I started counting how many times I was saying And anyway, so I hopefully haven't said that much this video, and if I have, I've probably cropped it out. Yeah, so I think just sitting down and speaking in front of a camera on different topics and then making different reels out of it is like 100% gonna benefit me in whatever I choose to pursue. So yeah, we're almost there. There are just so many social media platforms to go through, but BeReal. Now, BeReal popped off this year. So the reason why I enjoyed BeReal so much was because I had already basically been doing BeReal just in a video format, which was called the 1 second every day, for the past few years. And that was obviously in a video format, but BeReal was just a static kind of photography version. BeReal in numbers, I have like 24 friends on it. And then the last social platform is Twitch. Now, the way I kind of want to use Twitch is a bit different to how like it's typically used. So typically people stream their games. I've got a PS5 this year, honestly just to play with my friends and like connect with them, because I think in lockdown the last couple of years I felt a bit of FOMO from not having like a console and like being able to speak to them with a headset on. But yeah, the way I want to use stream is essentially like for a podcast. So if I do like start the podcast in Ramadan 2023, which is 3 months away, I think for any like guests that I have, I'd probably just want to like do a video call with them. Like I've watched a few Twitch streams of just interviews, to be honest. This has been like a really long and rambly video, but all in all, moving away from the numbers, moving away from like travel, books, and like social media, I'm really excited about 2023. I've kind of gone through and thought about like my favorite memories, who brought me the most joy, and they all kind of centered around just like new experiences and meeting new people. And like I would have never guessed or predicted everything that happened in 2022. And yeah, moving into 2023, I've kind of kept my New Year resolutions to myself for the most part, because they're like, yeah, pretty important to me. But it all kind of stems from like what I've spoken about today. And yeah, so if you made it this far, please do leave a like and subscribe, drop a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.